There's something going on. Crowd loving it. It's a ball, fly ball. Home run!
3, 2, 1. All right, Ryan, seems like a big day today. The Angels have signed Josh Hamilton to a 5-year, $125 million contract. Interesting enough, Bleacher Report came out this week with a post-winter meetings rankings of lineups, not pitching lineups, but just lineups itself. So I'm thinking maybe we should just go through their rankings and see if we agree or disagree with any of the findings.
Sure. I mean, but starting out here, what a shocker.
Well, yes. I mean, moving
30th.
Houston Astros are going to be 30th on their list. Do I agree? Yes. I feel absolutely horrible now for the Astros moving into the AL West. They're about to enter into a war zone between the Rangers, Angels, and A's.
They're just going to get beat up. They're going to get absolutely beat up in the American League this year.
Yeah, the American League has gotten tough, and if their roster, Brett Wallace is your cleanup guy. He's a good prospect player, but I mean he's not.
Their best player is Nolan Ryan. He didn't even play with them anymore.
Yeah. All right. Another AL West team they have projected in 29th position is the Seattle Mariners. Definitely some young talent on this team, but far from competing. Absolutely.
Now, real quick, Jason Bay, Canadian boy, signed with them. Does he do anything as he passes prime?
I think he's past his prime. Although in that park with that team, I think he'll definitely bring some leadership and have a semi-decent season. The Marlins, Stanton is great.
Right.
Stanton's really good.
He is pretty good. And that's just about all they got left, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm being at.
Yeah.
Cubs are next. Anthony Rizzo, I really like. Siriano has been a good power hitter. Doesn't hit for average, a lot. DeJesus is in that lineup. Castro's in that lineup. It's not an awful lineup, but it's definitely not one of the stronger. It's one of the weaker, obviously. That's why they're projected at 29. Or 27. So 26, we have the Padres. Now, the Padres are an interesting team because they've been sort of weak for the past couple of years, but they're definitely ranking in the prospects and, moving on to greener pastures, I guess you might say. I was surprised by this one. 25 is Oakland A's. The A's had a great season last year that had sort of bring back the exact same lineup. And
well, they were a bit of a surprise last year, right? I mean, I guess that's what I've been hearing so far when I've been listening to or reading some of the talks is that this team probably will take a step back or two this year, which I guess is what they're predicting here. 25th overall.
Minnesota Twins are next. Mauer's still in that lineup. Morneau is still in that lineup. But past that, they don't have very much.
There's nothing.
So that's why they're 24. 23, really surprising. The AL or the MLB World Series defending champions, the Giants, they bring back pretty much their lineup. Posey, Sandoval, Pence, Belt, a fairly good lineup, but I mean, I guess if they're sitting 23rd in their eyes, that means that there's some pretty good teams ahead.
22 better teams ahead, to be exact.
Well, and we're going to get there. We're going to get to the Indians, and they have the Indians, Jason Kipnis and Cabrera and Santana, Reynolds now in there. They actually have a fairly good hitting team. Trading Sin-Chu sort of hurts the lineup, but overall I think the Indians are on the right track, especially with a new manager in town. Then we got the Mets next. Well, the Mets, they could have a good breakout year with Davis, Duda, and Wright, but they're just surrounded by nothing else.
I was going to say there's not much there, right? Not much on that roster.
They have a good middle order lineup, but it's not outstanding.
Bring back Strawberry.
The Pirates sit next, and I like the Pirates team. Really young, lots of talent. Neil Walker, second baseman. McCutcheon obviously is great. Garrett Jones can hit for power. Alvarez sort of last year picked up the paces. Signing Russell Martin was a good sign. And Travis Snyder from the formerly of the Blue Jays. I mean, he was projected to be a great hitter. Eventually, he will probably get into that role. Maybe not. So this is 20th. 19, we have the Rays. I'm actually surprised by this because I like the Rays lineup. Jennings that started off. Escobar was a Blue Jay last year, not a horrible hitter. Zobrist, Longoria, Joyce, Will Myers, who's the MLB minor league player of the year last year. Lonely's always hit for average and drives into runs, not a lot of home runs.
Well, we've got to remember this team, we're looking at batting lineups here. This has nothing to do with their pitching. So this is 19th batting lineup with one of the top pitching lineups probably in baseball.
Yeah. The White Sox hit next. The White Sox had a great year last year. If you look at their lineup, they pretty much bring back the same lineup. And they were, in the first place for much of the season last year. So I think bringing back that same lineup will bode well for them. But I mean, I guess they're 18. I mean, they're sort of middle of the pack.
Right, and there's teams above them who've got better.
Like the Kansas City Royals. The Royals traded away one of their top players in Will Myers, and the minor league players. But a lineup that has Gordon, Butler, Makakis, Perez, and Homer and Forquer is a very good, young, talented team. That's why they upgraded their pitching staff, because their pitching staff needed to be upgraded to match their hitting. I like the Royals at 17. Dodgers, another surprising thing, but like I said, it's because the teams ahead of them are getting better. Mark Elias.
Well, this is that lineup too.
Ethier, Kemp, Gonzalez, Hanley Ramirez.
They grabbed these guys from Boston and just didn't pan out last year, right?
Yeah.
That was the big trade last year. So
I think they'll be good this year. The pitching staff's going to be great, and that's kind of what you're looking at. Orioles were great last year, clearly. Bring back pretty much the same lineup. Markakis returns from injury. Adam Jones had an all-star season last year. Matt Wieters is one of the best catchers in the league. Chris Davis hits for home runs. Manny Machado is a great up-and-coming player.
Great name.
So
That's
I really like that lineup, and they're 15th in their ranking. Boston Red Sox at next. I think they probably should be lower than this, but we'll go with what they have. Ellsbury clearly is at the top. They signed Victor Reno. Pedroia, you got to like. Ortiz is getting a little older. Napoli never hits for average. Middlebrooks is not the player that they think he is. That's why I'm surprised they're ranked at 14. I think they'd be a little bit lower. I have a couple teams that we mentioned, like the Royals and the Dodgers and the Orioles, probably ahead of these guys. Phillies take next. They got Rollins. Made some couple of deals in getting Michael Young into town. Utley's were still there. Howard's still there. Dominic Brown was one of the top prospects a couple of years ago. So I like this lineup. They're getting a little older, but it's surrounded by some youth. So I think this team has the potential to play really great ball. Diamondbacks sit in the number 12 position. I like this team as well. I mean, I think Aaron Hill had a breakout season last year again. He shows that he was, had sort of a confidence issue in Toronto. Justin Upton's obviously a young up-and-coming great player. You look at the rest of the lineup, average, home runs, RBIs, all potential great hitters. Atlanta Braves. Braves did great last year. Now they lose Chipper Jones, but they have a good prospect in Juan Francisco coming in and filling that spot. They signed B.J. Upton. That's a great signing. And then you got Hayward, Freeman, Ugla, and McCann. I mean, those are some pretty good hitters. So looking at that lineup, I think it's legitimate 11 overall.
the Braves are scary this year.
Especially with their pitching staff. I mean, they have a good pitching staff too. So you're looking at the Rockies next. Now the Rockies, the problem is that their pitching staff is atrocious. But Dexter Fowler, Carlos Gonzalez, a healthy Troy Terlisky, you have a makings of a good, solid team there.
Old man talk.
But the problem is that their pitching staff is just so weak that no one ever can contend. All right, the Rangers sit next, and it's looking scary for the Rangers. The Rangers last year had Hamilton in that lineup, and now they're not there.
So, yeah,
They also had Michael Young in that lineup. He's gone too.
Yeah.
So Kinsler, Profair, Andrus, Beltre, Cruz, Murphy, Ott, Santos, and Martin is what they have portrayed. I actually think I like the lineup. I think there's some really good youth in there. I think the problem is what they're missing is they're missing some bop, and that's what Hampton brought to that lineup. The Yankees seem to be getting older, but they do have the stalwarts there on the lineup.
So this is the Yankees coming in at 8th overall.
Yeah, and they got Suzuki still, Jeter, Cano, Teixeira, Granderson, Euclid until A-Rod gets back. They're a good team, definitely older.
Yep.
Not making
It's an old team, yeah.
not making the strides that they used to in the free agent market. St. Louis Cardinals sit in the number 7 spot. Raquel, Craig, Holiday, Beltran, Molina, Freeze, Jay. That's a pretty solid lineup up the bottom. There's not a weak batter in that lineup.
No, it's pretty solid.
The 8th guy is probably your weakest, but that's pretty solid right from start to bottom.
And 6 of the Brewers.
Brewers got a solid middle lineup. I mean, they got Ryan Braun and Ramirez. I mean, that's 2 great hitters. They're surrounded by young hitters. They performed great at the end of the season last year. Sort of surprised everyone how well they did after the Greinke trade. Look for them to expand on this season. I think 6 is a good place for them to slot it.
Top 5.
The Reds are sitting number 5, and the Reds have a dangerous lineup. I really like the Reds lineup. 2 just traded for, followed by Phillips, Votto, Ludwig, Bruce. The bottom 3 guys after that are all good up-and-coming players. That's a really solid roster. And Canadian Joey Votto is the man there. Number 4, drum roll please. The Washington Nationals. Not only do the Washington Nationals have a great starting pitching staff, the Washington Nationals have a great hitting lineup. Band starts it off, followed by Worth, Zimmerman, Morris, Harper, Desmond, Espinoza, and Suzuki. that is a top to bottom stellar lineup.
It's a healthy lineup, eh? And the Nationals could be a good team. Well, they are going to be a good team, but it'll be interesting to see what they actually do.
Picking up Heron to go along with their pitching staff with Strasburg and stuff like that. I mean, I think that's an unbelievable.
They grab Heron?
Yeah, they have Heron.
Yeah.
They have Gonzalez, Strasburg, Zimmerman.
Yeah.
That's a great start.
That's a pretty solid lineup, eh?
We're on 3?
We're on number 3, Toronto Blue Jays.
Toronto Blue Jays. So when this list was coming up last week, the Blue Jays were at 2. So there has been a team that's moved up, and I wonder what team that is. But the Blue Jays have a projected lineup, which is second to none. I love their lineup. Reyes starts it off. That's exactly what you need when you have a power hitting team like the Jays are going to have. Melky Cabrera hit for average last year. Yes, he got caught for some drugs, but still very, very solid. Jose Bautista has become one of the premier hitters in this league, followed by Encarnacion, who had a breakout season last year, sort of Bautista-esque, well, when Bautista went down. If those two return to any form that they did last year, I think the Blue Jays are set for a while. Rasmus or Laurie will probably go next. One of those two, either player, good up-and-coming young players. Lind had a down season the last couple of seasons, but if he can bounce back to anything legitimate, I think he's a good option, especially if you're looking, he's your number 7 guy. That's pretty good.
For the most part, he's your weak spot in this lineup, considering what he does, as a DH, where he's going to be penciled in this year.
And then you have JP Arancibia, and then you have Bonifacio, who's going to be your second baseman. That's a solid up and down 1 through 9 lineup.
Pretty solid.
Really, really like that.
Glad they got a good lineup this year.
Drum roll, please. The Detroit Tigers were number 1 last week when I checked this poll out last week, which means, Ryan,
they've gotten worse.
They've gotten worse, or one team has gotten better. I wonder what team that is. The Austin Jackson starts off the lineup, followed by the free agent signing of Torrey Hunter. That's a great pick up there for this lineup, especially. Miguel Cabrera, followed by Prince Fielder, a healthy Victor Martinez. Look at that lineup right there. Matchup pitches to Cabrera, then Fielder, then Martinez. That's unbelievable. That's a great lineup.
Well, and they didn't have Victor Martinez for most of last year.
No, he was injured for most of last year. So, moving forward, if you have to mention DH, you got Dirk, Betroya, Avila, and Infante. That's a great 1 through 9 lineup, and of course they're number 2, especially when you have a middle of the order lineup like they're going to present to most teams. And number 1 on this list, who were number 4 last week, made a move today that has vaulted them up to number 1 in this. So follows this lineup. Angels are number 1. We got Trout, Speedy, Ibar, Speed, Pujols. This is not an all-star lineup, by the way. Pujols hits 3rd, followed by Josh Hamilton, followed by Kendry Morales, followed by Mark Trumbo, followed by Howie Kendrick, followed by Alberto Caspo, and then Chris Iannetta. That is a lineup second to none. But then again, all these top 5 lineups have been second to none. All really outstanding lineups. But clearly, you have a lineup that includes Mike Trout, Pujols, Hamilton, Trumbo, and Morales, and that says nothing about Ibar and Kendrick in your lineup. You probably do have the top lineup in the league.
It's solid. I mean, it's definitely a good little lineup. My big concern, I guess, if I had one of this lineup, it's pretty insulated. It looks like from top to bottom. Would be if someone like Pujols is done. If he's done for, I shouldn't say done. I mean, him being done is still better than most guys in the league, but his numbers were not fantastic for the first quarter of last year. They were really down for him.
I think there's a lot of nerves in living up to the contract. I think a lineup where you have Hamilton hitting behind you definitely allows you to open up your game a lot more, and I think in the end makes this team even more dangerous, especially when you consider that Pujols is right-handed and Josh Hamilton's left, and then you have a switch hitter like Morales behind you. That's very tough on opposing pitching staffs when it gets late in the innings to go from right to left in your bullpen.
Yeah, this lineup's going to be trouble. I mean, they got 3 switch hitters in there already. It's a pretty balanced lineup from top to bottom. This is where I wonder what the American League collective record is going to be compared to the National League this year, because it's pretty solid all the way down.
So using this as a sort of a baseline, what do we got in the top 10?
Well, top 10 is split even. There's 5 AL and 5 NL teams in the top 10.
Oh, so there you go. And then in top 5?
Top 5, it swings over to the AL and NL. We got 3 AL teams and 2 NL teams in the top 5 batting lineups.
And the top 3?
Top 3 are all American League teams.
All American League teams. So just recapping the top 5, we got the Reds led by Votto, Harper's Nationals, we got Batista's Jays, Cabrera's Tigers, And Trevor Pujols, Hamilton, Morales, just the Angels will finish in first. Stay with us, guys. We'll have more if there's any more dealings going on what we think of that going on. But it's a big day